now the time is 8:05. Welcome to Papa's Educational Talk Series. And today's talk is about remote volunteering during the pandemic or COVID. My name is Hui Zhao. I'm the co-host for this educational talk series. And my co-host actually is today's guest speaker, Sonia Su, the young lady on the screen. And she and I will replace Dr. Yun Lu for the future talks, the educational talk series. I work for a local government and I have been the appointed commissioner for like 12 years. And for audience, people in the audience, if you would like to ask questions, please type your questions in the chat box. Only Sonia, myself, and Dr. Yun Lu can see your question or questions. Now, I would like to have a brief introduction about our guest speaker, Sonia Su, the young lady. You can see her, she has her video on. You can see her face right there on the screen. All right, here's my brief introduction about Sonia. Sonia Su is a 3-time cancer survivor. She founded the Clarksville-based nonprofit Kids to Heart in May 2020 after she graduated with a master's degree from Georgetown University. Sonia helps to distribute cancer kits to patients and their caregivers at hospitals in the Baltimore, Washington metropolitan region and nationwide. Sonia is a 2020 to 2021 Ulman Foundation GameChanger honoree and serves as a first connection volunteer for the Leukemia and the Lymphoma Society. Welcome, Sonia, to this talk show series.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction. So I will begin sharing the screen and my talk. Thank you all also for coming on a Friday evening, tuning in and listening to the experiences that I have to share. And hopefully the ultimate goal is really to have this talk hopefully inspire any one of you who may be interested in getting more involved in the community or just interested in how a nonprofit gets started in Howard County. So let me see if I can share my screen right now.
Good evening, everybody in the audience. Welcome.
All right, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so again, I just want to thank Kappa HC for inviting me here. So before I go into remote volunteer opportunities, I'd just like to give a brief background of the organization that I founded this May. So Kids to Heart is an all-volunteer organization that gives cancer care kits to patients and their caregivers throughout the U.S. We distribute in hospitals in the area, including Howard County General, as well as shipped kits to people directly. So our mission is to bring smiles and solidarity to those affected by cancer, one kit at a time. So why am I doing this? It's not only because I have a good heart, or so I hear, but because my motivations are rooted in a deeply personal experience. So as Kui Jiao just mentioned in the introduction, in January 2018, I was diagnosed with an aggressive type of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was 24 and I just started my second semester of graduate school and had been feeling some chest discomfort. Some further testing and scans confirmed that the tumor growing in my chest was cancer. And my first line of treatment, unfortunately, wasn't successful. Later that year, I found out the cancer returned and I was then on track for a bone marrow transplant. And I won't get into too many details here, but my cancer was extremely stubborn. So I ultimately was unable to proceed with the transplant and then had to turn to what was my third line therapy, something called CAR T. It's a relatively new treatment and it uses your own immune system to essentially attack the cancer. And so this odyssey has certainly taught me a lot. And when it comes to cancer care, I realized 3 core problems really. So the first one being the cancer journey is often a lonely one. It's full of anxiety and uncertainty, but at the same time, well-intentioned friends just don't know how to help and what to offer to newly diagnosed patients. And unfortunately, hospitals aren't able to offer adequate material and psychosocial resources, both during and after treatments. So this idea really came from a care package that I received when I was admitted to the hospital last year. It's important to note that at this point, I was feeling absolutely hopeless and physically and mentally exhausted. But I was so surprised to see the gift that I assumed was from the hospital, but instead it came from a former patient. And soon I was, preoccupied with uncovering all the goodies and thoughtful gifts left by this stranger while reading the hopeful note about how she had been in my shoes 1 year earlier and was well again. So the solution is really, what I've come up with is just, an elevated version of a care package. I call it a cancer care kit. And I really try to distinguish this from, the generic care packages that you can get on Amazon or anywhere else, because we focus on a couple priorities. One being, is the company sustainable, and does it focus on, the environment? I want that to promote this idea of healthiness, socially minded companies. And we also saw, in terms of the products themselves, I really try to focus on getting natural, non-fragrance, gentle products. But we also, work directly with small businesses and suppliers that care about our bodies and the environment, as I mentioned. So by including these carefully curated items, the kits also promote, healthier lifestyles and socially minded brands. And to date, 20 companies have actually responded to this mission and donated items and informational brochures for the kits. And most importantly, these kits are free. I wanted to make sure that these are as accessible as possible, and also complement, the treatments, the effects of the treatments. So items include hand sanitizers, masks, sunscreen for the sensitive skin, reusable water bottles. And most importantly, another aspect is a handwritten card. So about 1 month into running this nonprofit, I ran into an internal problem. How do I get help for writing the letters for each kit and avoid carpal tunnel? So the turning point was posting our first opportunity on volunteer websites. Some of you may have used them before, but since May of this year, which is when I officially started this, we've been able to distribute more than 530 cancer care kits to 45 states and 8 hospitals in the area. And this is really because of the incredible support, the volunteer support throughout Maryland. They've been contributing over, 3,200 volunteer hours. And at first, I really just started with card writing. That's the main need I really needed. But then soon, after seeing the interest in, with writing cards, I thought of more ways to engage the community of people who just had some extra time on their hands. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced this past few months, there are a lot of alone time in the house, maybe with family, but at the same time, there was just it felt like a lot of extra time. We couldn't travel, things like that. So all in all, I'm really proud to have, offered a variety of different remote opportunities. And we've had the most success with Montgomery County Volunteer Center. But volunteers have really been emailing from everywhere, whether they were located in Montgomery County or not. And student volunteers in particular are grateful for this opportunity to support a great cause when other in-person activities have been canceled due to the pandemic. So the recipients of such beautiful work truly feel that the community is rooting for them. Just a few days ago, I received the most heartfelt message from a caregiver who had received a kit from us. So as you can see here, I love this testimonial in particular because it really speaks to the importance of volunteers and the impact that they can have just remotely. I mean, all the volunteers have been working remotely, and yet they're able to have such an incredible impact and, really brighten people's days, which is something so meaningful to me and also, everyone who gets involved. So just some key takeaways. And just some advice that I would give to those of you who may be looking for ways to help during this time. And based on, just a couple months of my personal experience of managing, hundreds of volunteers and seeing what has worked. So first, do your research. This is maybe counterintuitive, maybe obvious, but it's really important to know exactly where to look, because obviously you can, go on volunteermatch.org or any other like Google, just search local nonprofits or things like that. But to me, what I found really helpful in terms of getting the volunteers that I needed was simply to look at the county volunteer center websites. They list very local opportunities. Of course, now they're mostly remote, but there are some nonprofits that are switching to safe, socially distant, in-person opportunities to help. And so I would highly recommend just checking those out and seeing, what maybe match your interests. And right now, actually, until October, I think it's 11 or 12, it's like a Day to Serve month. They call it Day to Serve because it originally, I think, started after September 11. They wanted a way to give back, and now it's been extended through as like a month-long thing. So you have a couple more days to like check out that website and see what opportunities are available. But in general, there's also justserve.org. That's a website where, you can find remote opportunities and just sign up for any that maybe you'd be interested in. But at the same time, it doesn't even have to be something related to your interests. For me, what I found was that a lot of volunteers also emailed asking, to help, even though they had no experience at all. They're absolutely beginners in terms of making masks or knitting bags. But at least for me, I knew that I wanted as much help as possible. I didn't want to turn away or turn down students or families who wanted to help. So I tried to be as helpful as possible and provide those tutorials for them if available. And the last one up there, you may have heard of them because they're pretty local. They're Nest for Us. They're actually run by teens, which is, I find, incredible. Like, they're high school, early college students. Like, they have just won an award that was recognized with like alongside like Bush and Obama or something like that. It's incredible. But they also offer opportunities to work remotely, but also in person. So yeah, I think doing the research and finding what suits you, what you may have the time for, would be incredible. So number 2, this kind of relates to the next one, which is just asking directly. So even if you don't find something that's online, because not everything's going to be posted, I just recommend, like calling or DMing the organizations directly. So Kids to Heart, my nonprofit, is on every social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I've received messages on Instagram, like people just literally sending me a message asking like, love your cause, how can I help? Because not everyone, again, is going to be checking your website, going to these volunteer centers, but they see what you're doing on their stories or posts, and that's another way to get involved. And finally, and probably the most important, is to just consider turning your hobbies into service. So actually, most of the opportunities that we've been offering were proposed by volunteers themselves. So, the first, as I mentioned, it was just the letters. And then slowly, I think randomly thought of origami. And then all the other opportunities were just because, hey, the volunteers emailed me and said, hey, I have this idea. Like, I'm really good at like crocheting. Like, can I crochet a couple bags for the kids? I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. Like, I would love that. Or, they knew how to make fleece blankets, no-sew fleece blankets. So like you just have to like fold them and it will be, and tie them, and that'll be easy for any, young students who want to participate. And I'm like, yes, that's a great idea. And also friendship bracelets. That's another thing I never really thought about, but I think another volunteer was like, I know how to make bracelets. Like, can I like contribute and have this count as service hours? Because a lot of it is because students needed the service hours during this time. But in general, they're able to see that their talents or their hobbies would be something useful for the community. And I'm sure that people have been learning how to make their own masks. If you like to expand your impact or your talents, I welcome you to either help out from Kids to Heart, but also, donating to other organizations that may need your help and talent. So in general, as cheesy as it may sound, I find joy by giving joy. And so, the very act of giving kindness reminds me that I'm alive, but also it reinforces the immense gratitude that I have. And so, you know, it's clear that this cause has become much bigger, much greater than myself. And I'm confident that we can make a difference. And I guess I just want to leave with the message that, you know, you can do something for your community, even if it's just something as small, if you think as, you know, or making origami, like hearts or something like that. Like I truly believe that, you know, being able to help someone out is really something that can give peace, also eases your mind from stress, and just helps in any way. So yeah, I think that was about it. And I just really appreciate your attention, and feel free to follow us on social media. As I said, we're all everywhere. We post updates about our impact in the community. Of course, if you're interested in connecting Kids to Heart with any local organizations and hospitals that you actually know or are aware of, we'd be happy to, you know, bring some kits and bring some joy to the patients that need them. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much, Sonia. I really admire you, even though I'm from an older generation, but what you have been doing is really, really, really moving and touching. In the beginning, I should have given credits to two organizations. Two organizations. One is called the Howard County Community Organizations Active in Disasters, or AKA COAD. The other one, of course, is the Chinese American Parent Association of Howard County, or CAPA. So those two organizations sponsor this educational talk series, including the one for Sonia, which is the 22nd talk since April, I believe, Dr. Yunlu, right? I also like to mention, it is my pleasure to mention that Sonia and her Kids to Heart, which is her nonprofit organization that was founded just in May 2020, she and her organization were featured on Howard County Times or Baltimore Sun, Howard County's edition in August 2020. So there are 3 pages about her, Sonia, and also Kids to Heart. I would like to ask you a few questions. I'm waiting for people in the audience to raise hands and ask questions as well. And please type your questions in the chat box. Only Sonia, myself, and also Dr. Yunlu can see your questions. Thank you. And the first question is, has Kids to Heart establish any relationship with Locks of Love, the organization that collects hair from people like my daughter every year since high school? Every year she donated like 10 inches or more to Locks for Love.
So that's a good question. I've heard of them before, and I know that it's a great, you know, opportunity to you know, donate some hair that maybe people are just like don't even want anymore, especially after COVID, and people have been growing out their hair a lot. But anyway, I have not connected with them yet. I haven't, you know, it'd be great to partner with more local communities and organizations. But I think initially I was really just focusing on having, you know, a kit that is portable and just easy to, so I'm not sure exactly how I would include wigs, but of course, if there's a way to at least include some information about them, because obviously, you know, cancer patients do lose hair, not all of them, but most of them do. And so, yeah, it'd be great to offer, you know, resources for that.
Yeah, I will ask my daughter to pass the contact to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you. The other question is, would you let the audience know how would they make monetary contributions to Kids to Heart?
Right. So
Address or a PO box?
yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. You can either go directly on kidstoheart.org and donate there. Or, of course, some people are old-fashioned. If you want to send a check, then feel free to email me at sonia@kidstoheart.org. I can send it in the chat, but and I can give you the address and more details. But in general, I think the easiest way might be through our website. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And the third question from me is, why do you think healthcare is a basic human right?
Ooh, that is a really good
big question. Yeah. Take
Yeah.
your time, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel everyone definitely deserves the right to help. I mean, to have access to healthcare. And I mean, just based on my experience with cancer treatments, they are incredibly expensive. Like in just to give you an idea, so I went through three different types of treatments. And the most expensive was the very last one, which ended up saving my life. So I guess you can't exactly put a price tag on it, but at the same time, there is a price tag. And it's one of the newer treatments. So it actually, it, it costs, okay, it's called CAR T. I went with something called Yescarta, and you'd be shocked. It actually costs $500,000 just for that CAR T drug itself. And that's not including your hospital stay, by the way. Like you have, so it, in reality, depending on how long you actually end up staying, it costs a lot. So my point is that it's incredibly expensive, and I'm lucky. I'm lucky that my insurance actually ended up covering it. Not everyone is so lucky. I've heard from similar people in my situation where CAR T was an option and it was really often their only last option. They weren't able to choose it, and just because it was so unaffordable. So I don't think that's right, because honestly, you shouldn't have to choose between, you know, literally life or death just because of it's either you're in debt for life or you just don't go with the treatment. So I I find that it's really incredibly important to make sure that people have the financial resources and have the access to the care that they need, because just because, you know, it doesn't make sense to have people who can't afford it just like not live, just, so I think it just all goes back to, having adequate access, having people educated on really the impacts of how people call it financial toxicity. So it's literally, it is toxic. Like all the bills add up, and I'm not even done with the hospital visits. I go back every couple months. And so it doesn't leave you. And I think that it's so important to have everyone, just have the chance to live, because obviously if it weren't for insurance covering it, I would be in serious debt, because obviously my family wouldn't allow me to just be like, oh yeah, you know what, let's just forget about this last treatment. It's too expensive. Like, no matter what, I would be in serious debt right now if insurance wasn't able to cover it. So yeah, I'm just grateful.
Thank you. I have a question from the audience. The question is, how do we participate, such as sewing masks or making the non-sew blankets?
Great question. So we actually post it on the Montgomery County Volunteer website, but it's also on our website, kidstoheart.org, under Take Action and then Volunteer. We recently took down the mask opportunity just because we wanted to control like the numbers that we were getting, and make sure that we're actually distributing the masks that we get first and not be so overwhelmed. But we would love to, open that opportunity again, because we are, running low. But yeah, or you can honestly just feel free to email me. Okay, let me just type my email address in the chat right now before I forget. Email me and I'll just send you more details and instructions. So whether you know how to do it already or whether you are totally new to this and have never touched a needle, like just let me know and I'll send you all the instructions.
Yeah, I wonder if Daphne, when can you see her email address?
I cannot.
Okay. Dr. Yunlu, do you have any question for Sonia?
Sonia, I want to know what you want to say to those high schoolers, because you can see many of them who may not be able to go back to school because of COVID-19, and then they will need to make transitions to college.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want to say to them, and how can they be ready and be prepared during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, it's hard to say because, colleges now are also remote. I mean, some of them are hybrid and meeting in person, which is interesting. It's difficult to obviously do the same activities that you would normally be doing without this pandemic. And obviously colleges are looking for, you know, what you're doing outside of school as well. So I think, you know, just even if you're not able to do something in person, just showing that you actually are paying attention to your community and trying to, you know, rise up and be a leader in your own way is something that colleges will, I think, will look for. I think in many ways, COVID is, yeah, has its negatives, but at the same time, it does present opportunities for us to, you know, do something about, you know, its effects. Even with this cancer care kit, like I never would have thought that I would be like launching this and doing this in the middle of this. You know, I thought it was just going to be, yeah, like people need cancer care kits, but now more than ever, like people really need them because you can't have visitors to your treatments. So I would just say, I guess my advice is that if you're, you know, looking to apply to colleges, see what, I guess, see how else you can, like, I guess, advance your story and your reasons for pursuing your degree, and try to show that you are more than just, you know, the numbers and SAT grades and scores and things like that. I think that's a key thing. I mean, for me, I know that being really active in the community and doing service is one of the priorities that is really important, and just having that leadership. Like, even if you are not able to go to school as normal, see if you can like form a club, like form like a service club. I was contacted by someone in a high schooler and a counselor in Fairfax, actually in Virginia, and they want to form a Kids to Heart chapter. So it's still possible to do these things, like even remotely. So if you're interested, I'm happy to also work with you to form a club, and then that will provide not only service opportunities, but also leadership. You can be the president of their Kids to Heart Club at your school, or at least propose like propose this opportunity to any clubs that you already are in, and just so that you're showing initiative. I think that's the most important. Yeah.
Thank you. The person in the audience, Daf and Wen, ask you another question. I mean, actually, this person made a very thoughtful comment, and he or she said, Sonia, your story really inspires people. I'm sure the community will respond to your call and join your loving cause. So it's a very nice message, very thoughtful, very considerate. There's a message, a question from my dear friend, May Jo. Actually, she recently donated, made some monetary contributions to Kids to Heart. Here's her question. Actually, she has two questions. May I ask how many patients roughly each year you plan to reach out to? And that's her first question. I will ask the second question later. Oh, that's her. She waved to you. You got this short hair, yeah. Yeah, so that's her first question.
Okay, awesome. Hi, May. It's really nice to meet you or see you. Oh, sorry, I think she's muted.
Yeah.
Should I unmute her or I don't know? Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. She's where's her name?
I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Well, anyways, I guess I should answer the first question.
Okay. May you're unmuted. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, now she's
on. Oh yeah. I said I donated just a little bit money to you, and you sent me a very, very nice postcard. And I recently connected with you on LinkedIn or Facebook.
Facebook. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're doing it full time now?
Sorry, what?
You are doing this foundation work full time, or you have another job?
So I do have another job.
Oh my goodness.
Saying about startups and just like starting new things in general, I think that most people tend to stick with their full-time job or whatever job that they have as stability and literally just to pay the bills, you know. But eventually I do see myself working on this full-time. And just because I know that it's gonna expand, like it's already expanding to almost beyond what I can handle. So it'd be great to, have the funds to be able to keep doing this. But, we've already distributed like more than 530 at this point. And that was actually like more than I expected, because by the end of this year, my initial goal was 500 by December, but it's only October and we've already distributed more than 500. So I think my next goal is either 800 or 1,000. I want to say 800 just to aim low. But yeah, it's really incredible. And, but in the next few years, I see this growing like a lot. So I think, for 2021, it'd be great to go from either 8 to 1,000 to maybe 2 or 3,000. Like it's hard to say. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do that with, what I'm doing like just by myself right now, because technically I'm the only employee. I'm not even paying myself. Like I'm also a volunteer. As I said, it's all volunteers. And so if I'm able to hire people and actually get this going, then I do see like 2 to 3,000 being a very feasible goal for next year. And then the year after that, maybe 5,000. Like this is just like kind of like dreams at this point, but yeah.
So you say 5,000, 2,000, you're talking about patients or kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be kind of the same, because at this point, most of the kits go to the patients, some caregivers, but in general, the kit is designed so that it's not only for the patients, but there are some things that they can share, like snacks and masks, not share the one mask, but there's like a couple masks for the family, and things like that. So, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Okay, for May's second question is roughly how much fund to raise you are planning each year?
That is a good question. So far, from what I've seen, I think I would have to double check on the numbers, but we've raised between $20,000 to $25,000 so far, which is a lot more than I expected, actually. Wasn't planned at all. It was just through, individuals like May, and I participated in Georgetown's like pitch competition. They were able, and those winnings went into starting this, and I'm participating in another pitch competition with Georgetown actually in a couple weeks. So I can send you that detail and you can watch online and see how I do. But essentially the top prize gets $30,000. So if I win, yeah. Thank you. I mean, that would be amazing. But of course, just being able to participate in that would be great. But yeah, so I'm just trying to look for as many opportunities, like grants, foundations as possible, just to like keep this going.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, Dafin Wen, I'm so sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. He or she has another question. How many patients could be children do you want to reach? How many patients could be children do you want to reach?
So yeah, that's a good question as well, because we recently did a drop-off at Johns Hopkins Children's Center in Baltimore, and they found the kits to be incredible and really useful, but most of the kits have been going to adults or elderly patients, just because, I mean, the demographic of just how cancer affects people usually towards the later end of the year. So of course, I would love to be connected with more children's center hospitals in the area, because there's one in DC, the National Children's Center, that I haven't yet connected with. But yeah, the Johns Hopkins Children is great. The requests that come through online do sometimes go to pediatric patients, because I do have a survey just to let me know, like, oh, how old are you, just so that I can actually have age appropriate items in the kit. But yeah, it would be great to reach more children.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if there are more questions from the audience. Dr. Yunlu, do you have additional questions, or anybody else? Okay, I have two more questions for you, Sonia. Okay, just for curiosity, how many masks are in one kit?
Are in one kit. Mm-hmm. So we do, let's see, we do 3 masks in each kit, and then for children we give 5. And that's mainly just because we've been receiving a lot of children's masks, or like just smaller size masks, and they're all so fun that I wanted to give like one of each, like different designs and things like that. And then the adult masks, it's really limited to 3 just because we haven't been able to get that many adult size masks. Eventually it'd be great to include more, but I think 3 right now is, how much we're able to do. Yeah.
Okay. And another question from me is, could you debrief about your Georgetown Entrepreneurship Challenge debate? I would like to have another talk on that subject, but today you could have give our audience, to show our audience a little bit of flavor of your debate. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not sure how many of you have watched Shark Tank on ABC.
Love it, love it.
But yeah, so Georgetown holds a couple of these like Shark Tank like events. And the biggest one is the one I just mentioned that's coming up in a couple weeks on October 27. And they call it Bark Tank because our school mascot is a dog. So of course, but anyway, so there's a smaller one in the spring, and that's the one I first participated in, and they call it the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Challenge. It's a little lengthy, but essentially the idea is that you go through several rounds. So first you compete as part of your school. So I was the School of Foreign Service, and then there's a business school, they compete, and then in the end there's like the finalists who compete, and the top prize was like $10,000. So I didn't get the top prize, unfortunately. I did get second place, so close enough. But thank you. The experience was really informative because it really, if any of you are ever interested in starting a startup, and it's never too early because obviously, teens, as I mentioned, can start a nonprofit by themselves and be really successful. I would highly recommend looking into pitch competitions and any entrepreneurship program that you can find, because Georgetown offers incredible resources, and just going through that experience of having to boil down your idea and mission into like a couple minutes can really help, not only for your like future investors or any donors, but also just to get inside your own business plan and understand how you want to, market and like share this idea. So I think that experience really was helpful, and I think that I'll be talking about a little bit more about it in an upcoming talk if you're interested. But yeah. Oh, I think you're muted.
Oh,
Quay, I think you're muted.
You should be unmuted. How can we type to her?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I will definitely schedule another talk with you about your Georgetown experience, Georgetown Entrepreneurship Challenge debate. Yeah, that sounds very wonderful. And also I'm one of the fans for the Shark Tank. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry I was late because it just happened lots of tasks today at work. I'm curious, what's exactly inside the kit? I know you talk about 3 masks for adults and 5 for kids.
Yeah.
And then I know you have put some snacks and anything else. I'm just curious,
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it definitely varies because it really depends on, the products that we have and can get. But in general, I like to keep it to at least 10 items. So for example, we have a reusable water bottle. That's important just because I want patients to remember that they need to keep hydrated because chemo can be very, draining and so yeah, reusable water bottle. We try to include like an appointment planner or like a journal, a notebook, something like that, so that they can bring with them to their appointments to take notes or just keep track of their symptoms, write down any medications or questions that they have for their oncologist or medical care team. We also include like lip balm just because that's like an easy way to just like literally just, feel good and just make sure your lips are hydrated as well. We try to include sunscreen. Sunscreen is important because chemo treatments really affect your skin and make it very sensitive to sunlight. So we were able to get a really generous donation from 2 like sunscreen companies so far, and like, yeah, it's incredible. So hand sanitizers, that's like everyone needs them, not only cancer patients nowadays. So yeah, we were able to reach out to like a couple local distilleries actually, because obviously with the pandemic, they all switched to making hand sanitizers. So we were lucky actually in a way because they wanted to support causes like ours. We also include, let's see, some brochures and informational pamphlets from other nonprofits. So we reached out to, for example, the Patient Empowerment Network. So they wrote this incredible brochure of tips on how to stay active during cancer treatments. So I think that's really useful. We also requested materials from Triage Cancer, which is, you know, financial resources for cancer patients. So it just literally tells you like how to, you know, how to be covered with your insurance and how to seek financial support and things like that. And what else? We include just some ginger candies and chews because ginger helps to reduce the side effects of chemo, which are nausea and vomiting. And we also include like teas, if possible, ginger teas, but in general, just like, you know, organic natural teas, just if they want to feel a little bit better, calmed in a way. Let's see what else. There's a lot. Obviously, all the things that volunteers make. So friendship bracelets, crochet bags, they recently have started making journals. And yeah, so I'm missing out a couple things like snacks, like protein snacks, just because protein, obviously they need to eat well. Let's see, there's a couple more things. Oh, we had a generous donation of deodorant as well. It's not something that I necessarily like actively reached out for, but it was something that I knew that I wanted a product from their company, and then they just offered deodorant, which is still great. Like it's nice to be able to like, you know, pamper yourself in a way. And then also just lotion. So the first batch of kits, I included this like vegan hand and body lotion that's really minimal in ingredients and ingredients that you can actually know and read. So yeah, that's just like a general idea. You can see some photos of the kits on our Instagram, but in general, like I try to pack it with as much as I can, just to make sure that, you know, there's a community that really like helped to form this kit. It's not only like in the beginning, yes, it was me buying everything. I was like literally just like contacting suppliers and then just like ordering directly from websites like, hey, I'm gonna order like bulk 100 items of this. But lately it's been more like, oh yeah, also gift card, I forgot. We've tried to add gift cards just because that's literally the most highly requested item after, you know, sweatshirt or something, but we're not able to include sweatshirts right now, but gift cards, like gas cards, because obviously people need to drive to and from treatments constantly. And so that adds up. And they also have to pay, you know, for parking fees, they have to pay for groceries. So we try to include gift cards now as well. Just any way that we can help.
So I'm just curious. So you have volunteers working together with you. So eventually they need to deliver these kits
Yeah.
to hospitals or to a rehab center, or
Right.
I'm just make up.
Yeah, so actually the volunteers mail everything or drop off in person, like outside my door, everything that they make. And I take care of putting those items inside the kits, and then I actually go to deliver them to the hospitals.
Wow.
So I haven't figured out a way to really invite the volunteers to come because essentially it's just like packing the kits in the car and then going and dropping it off. So yeah. Sorry, I think I was muted, but eventually if I reach a volume of 5,000 a year or something, then obviously I will need to recruit volunteers to actually do the deliveries for me. But at this time, it's still just me and my family just dropping off the kits.
Now I unmuted everybody so everyone can raise your hand and ask questions.
Yeah.
Any questions for Sonia? And by the way, May has a lot of experience, or many years of experience in running a nonprofit organization, a number of them already. And she has been executive director for a number of nonprofit organizations. So yeah,
Well, that's
I
incredible.
just finished a 6-year job in Arlington, Virginia. It's a nonprofit. It's a tiny, small nonprofit family foundation, but we were able to help more than 12,000 people in 9 countries. Most of them are K-12 students and college students. Yeah, and also we sponsored education programs, healthcare, and environmental protection programs. And currently, I just started a new job in Rockville. We are setting up a new foundation, but it's not here yet. Maybe we have to wait another 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah, I will keep you updated.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you based in Maryland or Virginia?
So I actually split my time between Clarksville and Arlington. So
wow.
I live in Arlington now, but then I just come back to Clarksville every couple days to just like pack everything and, you know, sort the nonprofit stuff out. But yeah.
That's a long drive for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, my new job is in Rockville, and now I live in Gettysburg.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope one day we can meet.
Yeah, definitely. It would be great because I'm so new to this nonprofit area. And
you're doing great. You're doing much better than most of us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I would like to give the opportunities to other people in the audience to ask questions and also or make comments. Feel free, because I already unmuted everybody, so feel free to chime in. And if no further questions, that concludes this educational talk session with Sonia Su, the founder of Kids to Heart. And thank you very much, Sonia, for coming to talk to us during your very busy schedules. So we will see you in the near future. Actually, once again, Sonia will be the host. Actually, I will be her co-host to run the educational talk series in the future. And I would like to invite her back again as a guest speaker to talk about, once again, Georgetown University's entrepreneurship exchange debate.